Hello everyone, welcome to this workshop related to 19443. I'm Marie Chamby, I'm in charge of the certification audit of Framatome, and also I'm the project leader, the international project leader for the revision of the 19443.
My name is Bruno Marquis, I'm working at EDF, I'm the head of the deployment of ISO 19443 in the EDF supply chain, and I'm also working on the WNE convener for ISO 19443.
Hello, my name is Dirk Weischedel. I'm also working for Framatome, GmbH, so Germany, and I'm also an expert for the WNE ISO 19443.
Hello, I'm Emmanuel Lambert from Orano. I'm in charge of the qualification of supplier for the group, and I'm a representative in the BNEM as a French expert for the ISO 19443.
Welcome to this workshop. What is the agenda of the day? We are talking about 19443, the main date. We will talk about what about 2025, what is the statistic, what is the story of the French deployment. We will give you the most feedback, and I will finish with a presentation of the future. What about the main date? 10 years ago, we have launched the international working group to create the 19443. 3 years after, we have published the 19443 in the first revision. 2 years after, two major documents were issued, the 4450, which is a guideline of the 19443, and the 23406, which is a document which defines the rule to be certified regarding 19443. 1 year after, first certification. 2 years after, first certification body accredited. 4 years after, 150 certification issued under accreditation. We have updated the 23406. I remind you, this is the rule to be certified, to take into account the first feedback, to decrease the number of audit days, and to clarify requirements for the certification. And we have launched the new working group for the revision of the 19443, which is expected for 2027. Let's focus now on 225. Where are we? Then, Bruno, could you tell us the statistic, and could you explain us the story of the French deployment?
Yes, I can. So statistics are interesting, and thanks to NQSA Association. NQSA, do you know NQSA, the Nuclear Quality Standard Association? It's in a few words, it's an association who were at the beginning of the ISO 19443 and now do the promotion of the standards and also are collecting all the certificates worldwide. So we have statistics thanks to NQSA. So according to NQSA figure, we count now more than 400 certificates. And the sharing between countries is thoughtful. On the left, you can see France leads with 285 certificates now. And I will discuss this later. But there we can find a lot of countries who has some numbers of certificates. And then we will be able to spot some trends with it. For example, Europe. There is 14 countries, account for 83 certificates. And that it really means that ISO 19443 is expanding throughout Europe, becoming the nuclear quality standard for the majority of nuclear projects, EDF projects in France, but also SMR with Rolls-Royce, also GE Hitachi, and so. Another interest is Korea. Korea, there is 12 certification, but there is also 5 certification bodies who are already accredited. So we believe that Korea is preparing a major rollout of ISO 19443 certificates alongside with international projects. In Russia, very little information, but we've heard that ISO 19443 is requested for suppliers working on the Russia international project. In US, we can also see that large associations like NUPIC or NISA are evaluating the standards, and also Westinghouse, GE Hitachi, Framatome US are requesting ISO 19443 conformity for their new project. So, but there is still few certificates in US. So I think it's an observing stage for the moment. And last one is China. For the moment, major players like CNNC or CGN are not requested conformity of the ISO 19443, but we know they are interested because they ask a lot of questions. So it's also an observing stage. So to conclude this slide, we believe that ISO 19443 is gradually establishing itself in the nuclear industry, becoming the nuclear quality standard, not only in France, not only in Europe, but worldwide. So let's having a short discussion about the French story, because you know 285 certificates in around 5 years is really significant. So you can see the chart on the left, starting from 2021 and it's still increasing. At the beginning, what is the story? At the beginning, before the publication, EDF, Framatome, Orano, BV are involved in the drafting of the certificate, incorporating French experience and also some small links to the French regulations in order to facilitate the implementation in their supply chain. That is the first step. Then, as soon as, shortly after the publication, before anyone was certified, early adopters such as EDF EPR2 project got involved. They sent a very strong certificate, strong message to the supply chain. And then the entire EDF fleet followed in 2021 with the same message: conformity is requested. Then in 2021, 2022, French contractors implemented massive incentive for the supply chain with hundreds of letters sent by EDF, Framatome, Orano to their supply chain, and some receive one, I know, requesting ISO 19443 certificate by accredited bodies with the strong support of the GIFEN. In the same time, the certification bodies receive also incentive to be accredited. What means accredited? That means they have to follow a standard, the ISO TR 23406, which is their specification to control applying to the ISO 19443 certification activity. And then they will be monitored by accredited bodies, which is COFRAC, UCAS, Accredia. And then they have the right to issue certificate under accreditation scheme. And then that is a strong guarantee for the quality of the certificate. Today we have 15 certification bodies who are accredited in Europe and 20 worldwide. So finally, last point, the feedback experience gained through the large number of certification has been used for the revision of the standards, as Marty said. That's all for me.
Okay, if we talk about a success, there is challenge, difficulties, strikes. Dear, could you talk about it?
Yes, thank you, Mariti. So, yes, I agree, it was a success, but not without challenges to tackle, not without effort, not without, somebody. So I'd like to address that. Let's start at the beginning. If you have a new standard, if you have a new code, no one knows it, everyone interprets something differently. So yes, so we started Framatome together with Orano actually to propose training, to offer something. And in addition, for each new supplier audit, we performed a gap analysis just for free, not as an requirement, just to say, if you want to go, that's what you have to add, just to start. And there were some suppliers, some who followed and who tried to be early adopters. We appreciate, but they had new challenges. First thing, there was no accreditation norm, so you could have to work before getting certified. Then there were only few certifiers, so you had to wait. And for those who performed the investment, they of course had to do higher pricing, though they were a disadvantage in the competition. Not an easy part for the early adopters. For those who were already part of, as an experienced nuclear supplier, the gap was not so big. But for new entries, and that's what we are looking for, they had some challenges to tackle. The most important being you need to change your organization to have the independence required by the standard. You have to know how to identify what is important to nuclear safety. And if you cascade it in the supply chain, what then has to be identified? That was not an easy task. You had to have a graded approach for those who had identified. So you had to change your processes. Not easy either. And there was also this topic about nuclear safety culture. Yeah, a good quality culture is something that is rather well known, but this step, the additional step for nuclear safety culture, need to be proven also. So, yeah, this changes. So we also had, like Bruno showed a part where we tried really to get everyone on board, all the supply chain. What we had a good start because we performed the gap analysis with our renewal audits. We knew where to start. We could give a little bit help, and we had additional support, giving training for the standard, but training based on the return of experience of the first 3 to 6 years. And also, we now could perform gap analysis really on demand, based on the specific requirement and brought of the supplier. And finally, we offer coaching to prepare for the certification, so that it's easier. Yeah, we know that it would be necessary. That said, even after all this, we still have the challenge of not having enough certifier. Now you see there are a lot of suppliers who get the certificates, but there would be way more. So a lot of us still waiting. In Framatome, we still have a lot of suppliers who are just qualified by Framatome, but we would appreciate if they would have been certified by an accredited organization. And yeah, so but it's getting better. And for those, who are certified, they have now the advantage of the improved safety and the improved trust that we will all rely on.
Thank you, Dirk. Then, Emmanuel, could you talk about the advantage of the ISO 19443 and the positive impact of it?
Yes, let's talk about the benefits of the ISO 19443. ISO 19443 has brought a major shift to the nuclear industry by consolidating expectation into a single standard. The sector has clarified its key challenges, adopted a shared language, and define a common baseline for its entire supply chain. It's not just a technical move, it's a strategic one. ISO 19443 involves operator, customers, supplier, partners, all pulling in the same direction and making the sector more robust and better prepared for future demands. 5 years after the first certification, we are seeing real progress. Supply chain is now more aware, more engaged, and actively improving its practice to meet nuclear expectations. But to be honest, ISO 19443 does not replace past efforts, but it's built on them, and it helps us move together forward. ISO 19443 is essential to support the growing volume of activities and to improve performance in nuclear safety, quality, cost, and delivery without compromising CFS items. The standard has helped harmonize expectations across operators, customers, focus suppliers on common challenges, and improve nuclear safety culture with a stronger commitment from the management and clear operational practices. Sorry. We also observe better definition of IPSM, and by doing that, more practices more focused on a risk approach and clear requirements that contribute to a better supply chain control. We can be proud of all those progresses, but we have to continue. Challenges remains. ISO 19443 is still young. Quality system management of companies vary in maturity, and the sector must continue to progress by reinforcing Tier 1 and Tier 2 engagement, encourage broader adoption of the standard, clarify IPSN scopes, especially for subcontracted activities, and capitalize in feedback from the different project leads to enrich share practice of the sectors. ISO 19443 have to remain a tool of progress, not a barrier. It should help attract new suppliers, but operators, customers have a role to play by, on the one hand, clarifying their expectations or requirements, and on the other hand, clarifying the criteria to select suppliers, taking into account the certification, the level of certification. In short, ISO 19443 is a foundation. Foundations are in place, and we have now to build together the rest. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's talk now about the future. You know that the ISO 901 is updated. It will be issued end of 2027, and it will have a direct impact of 19443. We are already working on the new version of the 19443, which will be issued 1 year after the 901. It's expected end of 2027. And in the same time, we're working on the 4450, the guideline of the 1944. Many countries are strongly involved in this revision, and frankly speaking, this will not be a revolution. We are mostly about clarification of all the requirements, taking into account all the feedback we have since 7 years, then clarification on the internal implementation, because we are certified, EDF, Orano, Framatome, we are certified 19443. Due to the feedback of the supplier audit, supplier certification, due to the feedback of the Nuclear Safety Authority, due to the feedback of the international organization. We have a lot of feedback. We take it into account in the new version of the 19443 to clarify requirements and to delete any misunderstanding. We don't want anymore any misunderstanding in the norm. Then no revolution, frankly speaking, but many reformulation, every line is updated and will change. But this is about clarification. As a conclusion, in 2010, we had a meeting, Framatome and Bureau Veritas, and during this meeting, we had a crazy idea. Why don't we have a standard for nuclear industry? We have a special guest today, Francis Muguet. He was in this meeting in 2010. Get up, please, Francis. This is Mr. 19443. He has the ID. In 2010, we had a dream, Framatome and Bureau Veritas. We had a dream, having a common standard for nuclear industry. Why not? As Bruno said, many countries, many customers are involved. Many suppliers are now certified. The dream is becoming true. We had it in 2010. The dream is becoming true. This is a story, a long story in France. We had challenge, we had strike, we had difficulties, but everything was handled, as Dirk explained it. It's handled. What about the future? What is the goal now? The subject is not anymore having a referential, we have it. The subject is not anymore about a certification process, we have it. The subject now is having homogeneity in the audit practices. Homogeneity between main customer and certification body. Homogeneity between a certification body and another certification body. Homogeneity between a certification body of a country and another country. Homogeneity in the certification process, practices. It's really important. This is the goal of everything, and this is our goal now. Then, focusing with the support of the main customer, we will work on the practices of auditing, because we want an audit operational, more effective. And as Emmanuel said, this is a real goal for simplification of the process of assessment of the supply chain. This is a new goal. We have a guest, Stéphane. Please come on. I'll let you introduce you.
Thank you. So I'm Stéphane Galopin. I'm the General Secretary of the association NQSA, Nuclear Quality Standard Association. And you have seen a few figures and statistics from the database that we just opened to public today. So we will have the opportunity, thanks to David and thanks to GIFEN, to say a lot more about the statistics, the figures, about the ISO 19443 certification around the world, and also to give you a live demo of the access to this database for any of the companies to be able to check if their company already appears in the ONUSIS, so the NQSA database, and also to discuss further in order for all the companies which are certified around the world to share their certificate and information with the public. Tomorrow at 2:30 on the GIFEN French pavilion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Then this is a time for question and answer. We have time. No, we have no time to, to take the question and answer here. I invite you, if you have any question, to join us to the meeting room, close the workshop 1, and we will take all the time necessary to answer to all of your questions. Thank you so much. Have a nice day, and enjoy your day. Bye-bye.